What up, everybody? Gozen here from Anime Uproar, and I got Ray with me, the anime virgin. What up, Ray?
What is up, everyone?
And we are here for our 10th episode to discuss nothing less than the end of Dragon Ball, the finale, and pretty much soon we are getting into Dragon Ball Z. But just to clarify, we are covering this time the Piccolo Jr. saga, part 2, episodes 139 to 153, and chapters 174 to 194 of the manga. So, how does it feel, Ray, being finished with the original Dragon Ball? And this is my first, from start to finish, experiencing Dragon Ball as well. So, this is super exciting. From here on out, I've pretty much seen everything.
Yeah, it feels like an accomplishment being able to finish all of Dragon Ball, especially I've mentioned before I've watched some of Dragon Ball Z, but had absolutely no context about Dragon Ball. So cool to finish it off and get the backstory. And I'm super excited to start Dragon Ball Z in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, like me too. And yeah, just so you guys know, we are doing the movies first. So the movies are available on Funimation. I'll set them right now. So for next episode, we're going to be covering The Curse of the Blood Rubies movie, Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle movie, Mystical Adventure movie. So those three are each like around 40 minutes.
Mhm.
And then finally, the Path to Power Dragon Ball movie. All of them are on Funimation. We're going to talk about them in that order. And the Path to Power is actually like made much later in the 90s rather than like the 80s. So that's going to be like, again, like a kind of retelling. And it's going to be like, I know a lot of people are fans of it and the way it's done. So it's going to be cool. We're going to be able to not only talk about how these movies compare to the Dragon Ball, which we just experienced, the anime, but we're gonna be able to compare them to each other and experience these new adventures because I do want to cover everything possible in Dragon Ball rather than skipping stuff. I want this podcast to be like pretty all encompassing. So as a result, yeah, we're gonna squeeze all the movies into the next episode, and then right after that, the week following, we're gonna be entering Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z. Almost everybody I know, like that was their like first anime, if not Pokemon, whatever. But everyone was into Dragon Ball Z. We all got hyped about it, and yeah, I'm very excited to finally get there.
I am as well. But before we do that, we have to talk about this arc. And we did mention last time that if the momentum kept up from the previous arc, this could possibly be our favorite arc. So, do you want to talk about initial impressions of the arc?
Yeah. First, let me just say, like as usual, just for podcast listeners, that we do stream this live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/rankcafe. And if you're watching anywhere else, we do also like you could download full episodes of the Dragon Ball Version podcast on all like the podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So make sure to check it out, download so you can listen like whenever when you're on drives and stuff. I know a bunch of you do that. So yeah, thank you guys for all the support, right? We thanks to you guys' support, we got to complete Dragon Ball and we're at 10 episodes and we're still going. So very cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really cool. So, you want to start with your initial impressions of the arc, and
Sure.
then I'll take it after you?
Sure, cuz you do really want me to start. So okay.
I'm always the one starting.
I will. Well, yeah, sure. I get to run the shot, so I make you start. No,
Yeah.
but so what did I think? I thought it was great, to be honest. Like I'm wondering right now if I should give away like where it's ranked, but definitely one of my favorites. I like how they incorporated the tournament style with like all of these characters and like it was just it completed it so perfectly cuz we got right Goku from a boy meeting all these characters re-popping up in this final arc in the form of a tournament. And then not only was it a tournament, because usually we had like, oh, save the world, and then we had like, oh, a side tournament, save the world, a tournament. This time it was a tournament that was also like the stake of the world. The world was in danger if he lost the tournament.
Hmm.
And it was his first time winning a tournament. So that was huge. And I don't, Ray, you probably can't see this, but on Twitch, I put the image of Goku on the bottom right celebrating after he won. And
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
that's the perfect like pinnacle of what he wanted to reach, right? This whole time he was like training, he wanted to be the best. He came in second, and finally, as he saved the world from the strongest villain like he's faced so far and the strongest opponent yet, he also won the tournament, won first place. So to me, everything came together beautifully, and I absolutely loved the how he just ended up with Chi Chi right there. So we got from uh, super innocent boy, which he's still innocent in a lot of ways, but to like now a married man, pretty much. So yeah, what wow! Just from beginning to end, this arc is one of the best I've seen for encapsulating everything and capturing it perfectly and just putting a nice little bow on it. Obviously, Dragon Ball Z comes, the story continues, but even if it didn't, this was amazing.
Yeah, I felt so good for Goku finally being able to win with all those close battles in those finals, those previous tournaments. I think the one thing that, so I'll agree with you 100%. I think this was an awesome arc and it tied everything together great. I'm curious to know when we get to it later on what you think of that side story at the end, that sub story of when they go into, I forget what it's called, that particular realm. I have the name right here. Uh, Anyways, when they're trying to put out the fire at the end, we'll get to it later. That sub story, I was kind of, I thought it was a little bit of filler, and I wasn't too interested in it. Though
Yeah, it was
it
filler.
is good. It is good to like get a bit of the history of how Goku and Chi Chi got married, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it per se. But prior to that, I think from beginning to up until the end of the tournament, it was absolute gold. It was gold, Jerry, as they would say in Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. We got my boy, the anime dude, who was a guest here before, saying, "Is that Yoshi in the bottom left?" Joking around. Well, I guess it's a joke in multiple ways because first of all, Piccolo's green, like Yoshi from Mario, but also because you called Master Roshi Master Yoshi.
I know. You still won't let me live that down.
No, I never will. But yeah, that was definitely filler, and we can talk about that. I did very much appreciate the ending, like the last little bit where they finally get married,
Hmm.
but it was so humorous. Like you have, and we'll get to it, but you have the Ox King, like his life is in fucking danger, and like it's so funny though because these guys keep going on all of these different adventures while he's just like running around the castle. It's like how is he not burned down yet? You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And it was filler. Like the manga ended right after him and Chi Chi left on the Nimbus cloud. And by the way, did you notice how Chi Chi was holding on to the cloud, suggesting that she is like pure-hearted like Goku, unlike
Yeah,
Bulma?
yeah. No, I noticed that. Yeah. No, that would have been a perfect way for it to end the way the manga had it. But
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know.
And the thing is, yeah. So again, we're not gonna take away anything from Dragon Ball because of the
No,
fillers, right?
no.
So the way we view it is it's bonus.
Hmm.
So we got the great parts in the manga with animation, music, all that good stuff. But then we also have this extra stuff that we could enjoy for what it's worth. And yeah, it's not, but like you can't expect filler to be as good as the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
won't hold it back. I won't hold it against the arc.
But those were my initial thoughts. Now, Ray, on to you, the anime version.
Yeah, well, just like what I said, I really enjoyed the arc from the beginning, from the last episode up until the tournament. The filler, put me like I was a little disengaged with the filler, but I loved the stakes, especially at the end. And I just loved how Goku was so determined to keep to the rules of the tournament in terms of at the very end, and we'll get into it, when Piccolo ends up, getting thrown to the ground, he asked the ref, "Is he out of the ring?" Like he's still, after all that's said and done, and all the stakes, he still wants to make sure that he won the tournament. So
No,
I
exactly.
thought
And
that
and
was
that's
hilarious.
it's not even like a side thing. Like, oh, can you just check? Like that's his main
I know,
goal,
yeah.
right? Like it's not even like, oh yeah, nice, I saved the world. Now, let's see if I can also win the tournament. Like the saving the world wasn't even like on his radar as much
Yeah.
as just like winning that thing. And yeah, we can get to that eventually because yeah, there's so much going on there with his personality and like the way of the warrior and stuff like that, and how he
Hmm.
prioritizes that kind of stuff rather than what you'd expect to do everything possible in order to save the world.
Hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to
So
start at
hero,
the
yeah. So
very
if we
beginning?
if we're starting, well, we can't start at the beginning because this is part two.
Yeah.
But we're gonna start at the Hero versus Yamcha fight because we saw the conclusion of that now. So
Yeah.
so obviously we got Hero versus Yamcha last podcast episode. I'm like, yo, we gotta watch Hero. There's clearly something there, and I said he would win because we already know Yamcha would lose against everybody. So I guessed that Hero would win and like mix it up a bit. We had no idea who Hero was, so when he beat Yamcha and it ended up being Kami, that was fucking crazy. Like,
Hmm.
did you see that coming?
No, I did not at all.
Yeah, it threw me off
Um,
because like I'm used to
did not
like
at
with
all.
the Master Roshi disguise, Jackie Chun, I'm used to now trying to see resemblances and like
Hmm.
see if I can figure it out. But here he just took over a body, right? So it's like we had no way of knowing unless we're like, next level predictors. So yeah, I didn't see that coming until Goku kind of figured it out.
Yeah, especially because he disguised his mannerism. He played this kind of guy who was all out of sorts and didn't know what was going on. So it's not like he was behaving like Kami.
Yeah.
And then finally, once we get further on in the fight,
No,
and
that's
he
a
ends
good
up
point, by the way.
defeating
I just want to say that's
Yamcha.
a good point.
Yeah,
Because he did not act like Kami at all. Complete opposite.
yeah, yeah. So we see more of his mannerism as he goes on, especially after defeating Yamcha. But yeah, that's crazy. And it's crazy how he was able to use that body as a vessel. And yeah, when he said, like, I am someone outside of this planet, I'm thinking, who the hell could this guy be? I never thought that he could occupy a human body. So
Yeah,
that
me
was
neither.
pretty interesting.
No, yeah, that was cool. And I'm like, the whole time, like you remember, I was like, who is fucking Hero? Like, what's going on? And he was called
Hmm.
Shen in the manga instead of Hero. And Shen kind of pointed towards Shenlong, which is what they call Shenron in the
Hmm.
manga, and Shen kind of means God as well, as they explain in the manga. So Goku had more clues than we had going off of in the anime, where his name was just Hero, right?
Hmm.
So it would have been more obvious initially for Japanese readers, but still, yeah, I didn't see it coming, and now it makes so much sense. Like I was saying, like, oh man, that was disappointing that Yajirobe lost, but now it makes perfect sense looking back on it.
Yeah. So yeah, we had that fight. We had after that
But not
fight.
even like let's not get way too ahead of ourselves
Okay.
because let's talk about the fight itself because there
Sure.
were some amazing moments like obviously Yamcha getting headbutted in the balls accidentally, right?
Yes.
That an anime called One Punch Man very much draws inspiration and has a similar moment to that, um, where they get off humor from the fact that these are serious martial artists, and yet a guy runs his junk into someone's attack
Yeah.
accidentally, kind of thing. So like that's like an iconic moment. I'm sure I never knew that Dragon Ball had one like it, but that's hilarious. And then we also have like the reveal, which we talked about. It's talked about in the manner of an alien from outer space that borrowed a body. That's how Yamcha phrases it. And yeah, I wanted to ask you, when did you guess? So I'm guessing right when it was revealed. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was right when it was revealed. I put that together. So yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned the comical slapstick aspect of it. I think that was at the end of the last one when he was playing that like, oh, I'm not a fighter kind of guy, and then that happened. But we know for real he's a fighter when at the beginning, especially of this episode, he's blocking all of Yamcha's punches seamlessly, while at the same time finding ways to land shots on Yamcha. So Yamcha has no chance. He does do something really interesting though. He uses his this is Yamcha, uses his he calls it raw spirit energy and
Yeah.
blasts that spirit ball, I think he calls it, and he can actually control it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
it's like pretty much doing using ki, and like he calls it concentrated life force in
mhm.
the manga, which sort of implies it's like Tien's move where he like sacrifices a part of his life force to use that tri what was the attack? Was it tri beam cannon or was it something else?
The tri-beam cannon, I
Yeah,
think,
that's
was
it.
the
Okay,
thing
yeah.
where he I think that's the one where he blew up the ring.
Sacrifices. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's where he sacrificed part of his life. So it seemed like in the manga, like Yamcha was doing a similar kind of thing. And yeah, that was cool seeing a new move. And yeah, I really loved the way that ended up with it going under initially, right? Under the ring. And
Yeah.
then it pops back up from the ground and hits Kami in the face.
Hmm.
And like, although yes, we could say Yamcha is a perpetual loser in a sense because he keeps losing. Um, as Sam pointed out, he called him the eternal loser, or L taker. But yeah, the point is, at least the Toriyama went out of his way to like give him a moment to shine, so his training wasn't for nothing. Because Kami is God, pretty much, of this world, and Yamcha got him. Like he literally hit him in the head, like
Yeah.
and got him when he wasn't expecting it. And then obviously, Kami made quick work of him afterwards. But the fact that Yamcha succeeded in getting that hit is actually super significant.
Yeah, for sure. There have been moments in this series where Yamcha has surprised me at times.
Yeah, and I
So,
and I think that's important too. It's not just like who wins, it's also how does the writing make it interesting even from the loser's perspective. And yeah,
yeah.
when we get such moments like Krillin doing a good job or Yamcha doing a good job against an opponent you don't expect, that's still enjoyable. It's
Hmm.
not like they suck because they lost. No, they were expected to lose, but they didn't give up without a fight, and we got an entertaining battle as a result.
Yeah, they surprise you in some way, whatever way that is.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything else you wanted to point out about that fight before we move on to the rematch, Goku versus Tien?
No, not really. I mean, he did a pretty good job with just hitting Yamcha out of the rink. So you could tell at that moment that Hero, he wasn't the type of fighter to want to like finish guys off. He had a mission in place. He had a reason why he's there, and we find out more about what that reason is as we progress on this arc. But yeah, that's probably enough about that fight. But in that same episode, we do get the build up and the beginning of the rematch between Tien and Goku, which was that epic battle from the previous
Very
tournament.
epic. Yeah, that was one of the most epic battles in the entire series. Like, I'm not saying the most
Yeah.
for sure, but one like top three, counting all of the arcs. And yeah, Aka just mentioned no pants TN in the chat. So yeah, we're gonna get to that. That was hilarious. But yeah, initially, I was hyped up for this. Obviously, it's not gonna be. It wasn't hyped up as much as Goku versus Piccolo, but at the same time, it was hyped up because their last match was so epic. And yeah, so some of the stuff, I think I'll let you talk actually first and tell me what you liked and like what you thought about it, because I don't want to influence you, kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
then I'll chime in.
Yeah, so the beginning of the fight was pretty interesting. Tien comes out swinging right away. Goku starts dodging a lot of the punches. Then they move to the air to fight, which is kind of an interesting parallel to the end of the last fight they had, where it took place in the air. They come back down and fight when they're invisible, which was pretty cool to see for a prolonged amount of time. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, at that moment, they seemed pretty evenly matched, which was interesting because I thought to myself, man, like Goku has to be a lot stronger
Yeah,
than this.
but
Is he holding back?
at this point that they always do that,
They do, yeah.
right? Like,
But
I think you're starting to get the picture that they're not just gonna have Goku like one shot Tien. They're gonna make it a bit
no,
interesting, Yeah.
yeah. No, I found that was interesting. I was just wondering, where they match up with each other. But something I did notice, this is near the end of episode one, and this just was a hint right there that yeah, Goku was going to win this. You could tell Tien was out of breath from all of that, while Goku looked like it didn't even
Yeah,
phase him.
he was
And it goes
smiling. Oh,
back,
I love it. He was so
yeah,
like filled with glee. He was like having so much fun. I love it. I
it
absolutely
goes
love it.
back to his training he just did over the past few years, which is you want to conserve as much energy, especially, prior to the championship. So you could tell, I mean, at that moment, I'm like, yeah, he's totally not using all his energy because Tien is out of breath, tired, whereas Goku looks like he didn't even fight at this point. Like he has no sort of like
Exactly.
weakness.
And part of that was kind of suggested like how he was training in like little air, like the air was thin where he was
Hmm.
training, so like he had less access to oxygen and he learned to get peak performance off of a lot less like oxygen and thinner air. So I feel like when he comes down to the normal world, it's like his body is almost like on drugs, on steroids, because
Yeah,
like he's he's it's so much easier for him to do everything and breathe and everything than it was up there. And I'm pretty sure I read something like that too, that like if you train for a while, like somewhere with a high altitude, and like you come back down, it'll take a while for you to readjust. And in
yeah.
between that period, while you're readjusting, like yeah, you're gonna see noticeable benefits.
Yeah, no, I that's an actual thing. Like I know for running, they have if you run at higher altitudes, you teach yourself how to breathe less, and
Yeah,
that actually
perfect.
benefits you in the long run when you go down and train at lower altitudes. You're able to control your breathing more and not be out of breath. So that's a totally accurate like physical thing that people do
Exactly.
in real life.
And I think that's the best part of these shonen, that you have situations where they they take stuff from real life, but then they enhance it in epic ways, right? So they're not getting this stuff from scratch, but they are obviously making it more interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the most hype moments for me, and other shonen have copied it because it's so epic, and we saw it a bit with the turtles, with the turtle shells that they used to carry. But bro, when Goku unexpectedly took off his clothes, and like in the manga it said they weighed over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
He took them off. Like, what was your reaction to that, bro?
That was crazy. And it's funny because I think the last episode you talked about how Goku was wearing that dark shirt underneath, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's his own original twist on wearing the kami
The
clothes. But
gi,
no,
yeah.
he was wearing them because
Oh my
it
god.
made things more difficult for
It
him,
was
which was
so
awesome.
good. It
I
was
love when
so hype.
he's taking each off and just like literally just letting them drop to the ground, and they're actually
It's like, yeah,
like breaking parts of the ground, and Krillin's trying to pick it up, and he could barely pick up one.
yeah, and even Tien, like, he tries and he's like noticeably like trembling and like sweating and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, bro, that to me is on the level of transformations, like straight up transformations, if not
Hmm.
more so sometimes. When a character just, because the turtle shells, you knew what was happening, but in this case, it was concealed.
Hmm.
And so that made it so much more epic, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm wearing a shirt and like sweatbands on my hands and boots. Oh yeah, actually they all weigh like a million tons. So it's like, obviously I'm over exaggerating, but like the fact that we didn't know made it so much more epic.
Yeah, and they're all on his major limbs. Like his legs are being weighed down, his arms are being weighed down, his entire upper body's being weighed down. So it's not like there's just one area of his body, which is crazy to think he was able to go
Yeah.
up there and fight Tien
Oh, it
in
was
the
great.
sky.
Yeah, in the manga, Tien keeps going like, bro, I see your speed hasn't improved all these years. And little does he know, the whole time, he's carrying around over 200 pounds, bro. Like,
It's
that
funny, yeah.
that was beautiful. Space Backspace says in the chat, his warm-up afterwards is one of his favorite sequences in Dragon Ball. And yeah, that was great, eh? How he just like, you could tell how light he is. The
Yeah.
anime really like wants to foreground how like he's almost flying, how light he is after taking off those weights.
Yeah, I know. I love just right before that happens, Tien is just so cocky,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
like, "You'll never be able to
He
beat me."
keeps saying he's
Goku is
gonna
just so
win.
compliment,
I'm like, Tien, have you learned nothing, bro? Have you learned nothing?
and like Goku's just so complimentary to him. Like he's like,
Yeah.
"Wow, you've improved a lot."
Oh
Like
no,
he,
I love
he's
that. I
talking.
love that. And yeah, no matter how cocky like Tien gets, Goku is like, "Wow, you're really good, man. Like you're really good. I'm impressed. I'm proud of you."
Yeah, because he does land some shots on Goku. At one point, he like lands a headshot on him. He kicks
No,
him, but
exactly.
obviously this is prior to the all taking off the weights. So once he takes off the weights, that's pretty epic. And then Tien ends up pulling off a new move, which is kind of similar to the thing he did in the previous
Yeah,
tournament, but different.
you are skipping ahead of the belt part though.
Oh yeah.
Do you
So
remember when so
yeah,
Tien they engage after Tien kind of mocked him for being the same speed, and
yeah.
then Tien's like, "Ah, see, you still can't escape my eyes because he has like, three eyes. He has amazing vision." And it's like, if anyone could spot Goku's improved movements, it's him right now. And then yeah, the dude, unbeknownst to Tien, Goku has taken his belt, and we get that hilarious moment in what should be like this intense fight where we see Tien's boxers.
And right before that happens, he says he will not fall before any man. Yet he trips on his own pants.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna fall, you might as well fall in your underpants. You know what
I don't know.
I mean? No, and yeah, they lay it on thick, but that was funny. But yeah, you could go ahead and talk about the what I'm guessing you're gonna say is four TNs, right?
Yes, I think he calls it the quadruplication, I think, or something to that degree. So yeah, he starts glowing, which seems like that's like a common like motif within this entire arc, people glowing and building up.
Yeah, it's a
So he
way they
starts
want to
doing them.
kind of show energy, aura,
Yeah.
like ki, right? They want to actually like make it intense, right? Because
Mhm.
if like you're not using the color, then why are you in the anime? Why are you doing anime form? So yeah, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah. And Goku's pretty impressed with that particular ability for Tien to split four ways. If you remember the last um, tournament arc, we had Tien growing extra arms. So at this point, he's actually able to
Yeah, that was intense. Not
split.
gonna lie. Like when what like last time, I feel like it was almost more shocking when he did the four arms than like the four TNs.
Hmm. So yeah, he ends up doing that. At one point, the four of them, I'm going to use a phrase that I learned from you, I think an episode or two ago. They use energy waves. Is that the proper
Well,
thing to call it?
that's what I call them. But yeah,
When they're not named,
that's what I
right?
call Kamehamehas. Like
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I call them. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, they use four energy waves on Goku at one point. They do land some shots on him, which is interesting. Um, when they end up trying to hit Goku, he does dodge at one point, but they find him in the clouds
Yeah, he just
and they hit him
dodges
with the
up.
four lasers from their eyes. I think from their one eye, they hit him from the four lasers, which is pretty epic when he falls. But yeah, when he gets back down, you could tell again he's holding back because he just starts. He says he's impressed, and he just starts doing push-ups again before getting back into the fight.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, do you remember why he went like into four versions? What he was talking about when he split up into four?
The reason why he did it,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
So in the manga,
remember.
at least, he talks about
Okay,
like, because Goku is so fast now, and he's
yeah,
like, and he just outperformed him without him being able to see. So he's like, all right, if three eyes can't see it,
mm,
then how about 12 eyes? And so he creates four of himself, so he has no blind spots, right?
hmm,
Which is really cool because like from all now he can pretty much see every angle, and
yeah,
there's no way Goku can really like surprise him vision wise unless Goku is just like ridiculously outclasses him. So
hmm,
and like that was so epic what he did there with like with the solar flare, right? Tien's own technique. And what's Tien's biggest strength? The fact that he has 12 eyes now and that he can see everything and he has like the best vision ever because of all
Hmm.
those eyes. And he uses solar flare to blind him and punish him for his strength. That was genius. Like, people sometimes say Goku is like stupid or something, but like clearly in martial arts, like he is a genius. Like the way he comes up with like all these attacks and strategies on the fly, like Goku is very intelligent in that regard.
Yeah, he's definitely grown to be a lot more strategic over the last couple arcs. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And it's funny how Tien's vision turns out to be one of his weaknesses
No,
at
exactly. Yeah,
that point.
that's I think like that's what some of my favorite moments in shonen in general, when you find a way to take someone's like biggest strength and turn it into a weakness, and
Hmm.
like the strategy involved in something like that, like I absolutely love it. So yeah, the way he did, and this is how cocky Goku is. So not only does he use it, he doesn't even take advantage of that to kick him out of the ring, because he's like, no, first I want to show you your second weakness, right?
Hmm.
So he actually waits for him to be able to see again properly so that he could like completely outclass him, right? Because he could have taken advantage of that moment and beat him before Tien regained his vision. But
Hmm.
he waited for him to like regain it so that he could point out the second weakness, which was
That when he splits into four, his power is divided amongst the four. Therefore, they're all weaker than it was if
exactly.
he were to
Yeah,
stay
and
together.
in the manga it straight up says like the attack, the defense, the speed, all of it was cut into four. So it's like, yeah, Tien, like that was a gamble. That was a huge gamble and a bluff almost. And he needed to either finish off Goku quick or scare Goku, but like, yeah, not a smart play. I guess it was another way of showing that he knew he was outclassed and he was like desperate, so he just tried to do something crazy like that, even though Tien should have known it wasn't gonna work.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that was
What I
interesting.
think interesting as well is that Piccolo recognizes the vision weakness, and he even says that, but he's impressed when Goku ends up recognizing the other weakness, which is when he gets split into four. So at that point, you see this moment where Piccolo's been watching all the fights and judging the fighters, and he's actually impressed with Goku spotting that second weakness because he didn't spot it.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, it's interesting. And in the manga, it definitely portrayed Piccolo as like realizing that Goku was gonna win pretty soon. But that is interesting, yeah, how the anime portrayed it too. But the point is, Piccolo was smart enough to know that, yeah, Goku was definitely had the upper hand.
Hmm.
Then we have also the fact that Goku didn't use a Kamehameha, which
Yeah.
another flex, right? He didn't even need to rely on his signature move. Little do we know yet that not only did he not use his Kamehameha, he had a super Kamehameha up his sleeve.
Hmm. Yeah, that was pretty epic in the last fight when he used it. But for sure, that's interesting. And even Tien says he knows Goku was holding back after the fight. So that was pretty interesting. He has a lot of respect for him. And as well, after the fight, we see that prolonged conversation between Goku and Kami when he recognizes him and they're all like, why is he talking to Hero?
Yeah,
What does
yeah,
he have in common with that guy? So
exactly.
yeah, that's when we learn more about how Kami says he's Piccolo, and he basically says that he needs to take care of Piccolo in the next fight because he's Piccolo's, or at least Junior, I guess, is out of Goku's league.
Yeah, although to be fair, he says that Popo like covered most of his training, so he
Yeah.
doesn't know exactly how Goku strong Goku is,
Hmm.
but he also feared that Goku wouldn't be able to finish him off because he knew it would kill Kami, right?
Yeah.
Popo spilled the beans on that, and
Hmm.
as a result, that was in his head too, because not only did he not know that Goku was strong enough, he also feared that Goku wouldn't be able to kill Piccolo when the time came, and as a result, Piccolo would take advantage of that and kill Goku.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I totally get where Kami is coming from, because I think they did a really good job with this part of the story and explaining why he feels guilty, because not like there's no doubt that it was extremely difficult for him to purify himself to the point where he took out his evil side and he became like pure good. Especially when you have some evil in you. Like Goku seems like pure good, you know. But Kami
Yeah.
clearly had some evil in him and he worked really hard to expel it. And like in general that should be like rewarded, but he kind of had to live with the fact that with him doing all that work and succeeding in that, he also expelled a monster that was wreaking havoc on the world. And he had to live with that, right? He's like, for every good thing he does, he's like, oh, well, that demon is doing bad things. So, yeah, I get why he felt like he needed to make up for his sins, I guess, of unleashing that monster. And he needed to do it because he couldn't kill himself. It was said that like a god can't commit suicide.
Hmm.
And so he needed to actually like defeat him himself because otherwise Kami would have just like taken his own life and he wouldn't have
Yeah.
even let Piccolo and Goku fight.
Yeah. That's why at one point later on in the tournament, he asked Tien to kill him because
Exactly.
he can't do
And
it himself.
again, like they're different characters, right? For Kami, his main concern is protecting the world, right? He's like the god, the protector, and he'll do anything. He'll lie, he'll do anything in order to protect the world. And for Goku, we see later, for him it's like a warrior code. Like for him, it's not so much about protecting the world, which I'd like to think is like a secondary thing for him. But the primary thing is definitely that warrior code and the pride of a martial artist, as they call it, and that he wants to win fair and square against Piccolo. But before we get Goku versus Piccolo, let's talk about the hero versus Piccolo fight real quick.
Yeah.
So the main parts of this that we could like mention are the evil containment wave and how unexpectedly Piccolo was able to reflect it back and reverse it so that it got Kami trapped instead. And
Yeah.
so at this point, Piccolo pretty much said he has no more weaknesses because that was his one weakness, and now he'll just overpower everybody.
Hmm.
So, what was your thoughts on that fight?
It was good. It started out pretty. I mean, I think Piccolo started with an energy wave that was pretty powerful. When he dodged it, it like blew up an entire piece of land. It was a pretty even fight throughout for the most part. I thought it was interesting when they start communicating in their own language.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
a bit weird to me. That was jarring. Cuz in the
yeah,
manga it was okay cuz you're just like seeing symbols and like it's translated, but they had a weird effect in the anime where it was like that's hurting my ears. Like
yeah,
it was weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
At first, I was a bit confused what was going on, and then I realized that they're just on a separate level and communicating with each other, and
Yeah,
people are
exactly.
confused about like what are they communicating about? What could they be possibly talking about? But yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, the main piece of that fight is when Kami takes out this small little bottle, and we've had like interesting like contained containers so far. We saw
Yeah.
Tien
Like the
with
rice
that
cooker,
rice cooker,
right? That to
but
me is
yeah,
still the best, the rice cooker.
oh, I know.
But
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, takes the little bottle, uses the containment wave, and Piccolo uses what he calls the reverse containment wave. Um, so yeah, that was. Do you want to say something?
No, yeah, I was just mentioning that that was an interesting part and I wanted to know how did you react to this? Like I want to know your thought process because I I learned like about the, I researched the reverse stuff and like, and stuff about that cuz I'm like how the hell did it work on Kami when
Hmm.
Kami is has no evil in him? And so like I researched the stuff and I spent a while thinking about it, but I just want to know your reaction. Were you like shocked that it could be reversed or what?
Yeah, and I wonder how he learned that. Like in he had those couple of years to learn it. Like, how did he end up learning the reverse
Yeah.
containment wave? That
So
did confuse me.
the one of the things in the defense of him learning that was that it's implied that he has the memories of the old Piccolo.
Hmm.
So he could have replayed let's say, those memories, because that worked on. I mean, Piccolo saw that a few times, right? So he could have
Yeah.
replayed those memories and figured out a way himself to reverse it. But
Okay.
yeah, it was interesting because that was always a possibility, right? They could always use the evil containment wave. So it's interesting the way they made that a non possible way to go by just making Piccolo know a reverse for it. And yeah, I thought it was creative and yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but you're right, like we had no vision of Piccolo practicing it or learning it, but it should be implied that I guess he did kind of practice mentally, if not physically, for that moment.
Yeah, and it made the stakes a bit higher because we know that's a way that he not necessarily could have been defeated, but we could have dealt with Piccolo, and now that's off the table. So that biggest kind of kryptonite can't be used anymore against him, say
Exactly.
if someone else learned it. So yeah, it makes things a lot more interesting at that point.
Yeah, it makes it intense because yeah, not only can they not use that, also they have to overpower him. Also, they can't just kill Kami because yeah, Kami is captured. So for those two reasons, the intense level rises, and then the Goku versus Piccolo fight reaches like pinnacle intensity.
It does. I do find it right before the fight, though. I find it funny when Hero, like the actual spirit, ends up going back to him, the human form, and then he's like getting up when he ends up obviously losing the fight. He's down for more than 10 seconds, and like the crowd is cheering, and he's so confused where he is, and his son is so proud of him. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
God, I never knew
No,
you could fight like
no,
that.
good point. Good point. Yeah, that was great. And that was in the manga too, where like the dude wakes up and then he's like everyone's like cheering and then his son is so proud. Yeah, that was a hilarious moment. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, I would have skipped over it, but yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but yeah, right before that fight, we have Piccolo swallowing the bottle because he goes up to Goku. Goku's obviously really upset that Kami's in there now because he knows what's going on
I
behind
love
Hero.
the dynamic between Piccolo and Goku, like how Piccolo just like I don't know, like it's not it's like a rivalry more so than just like good guy versus bad guy. Cause like the way they taunt each other is like you have a basketball game against another team and like you run into another player from that team and he starts talking shit before the match. Like
Yeah,
that's the kind of vibe I get. And yeah, he's just like, "Hey Goku, you want this back?" Ha ha ha. And then just swallows it. And he's like, "Take that, bitch." so I really enjoyed like them fucking with each other and like Piccolo trying to mess with him. It was pretty fun.
yeah. And I'm wondering how the hell are they gonna get that bottle now?
Yeah, that's what we were wondering at that moment.
Yes.
Yeah, like did I think I definitely didn't expect to happen what happened. Like I did not
Hmm.
expect Piccolo to grow big at
Yeah.
all. So yeah, it was a creative way for them to do it for sure. But yeah, so let's jump to Goku versus Piccolo, and I guess what did you initially think of the fight?
So it was interesting. They started pretty even to start. Both landed some big punches. They got some big punches in. It was interesting how Piccolo is fairly flexible. Like his arm could extend at different
Yeah,
moments.
exactly. And
He has
we
those
did see
weird
that
arms.
before, but
Yeah.
Goku was ready for it this time.
Yeah. Piccolo hits Goku with different energy waves. At one point near the beginning, Goku went down for more than, it seemed like more than 10 seconds, but the referee, in his typical fashion, doesn't count right away. But we find out he's just faking it. So I'm waiting to see like what's it going to be like when they actually end up
That
fighting for
that
real.
was an interesting part of Goku that he like felt the want to like fake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like instead of
yeah,
just being like, "All right, that was nothing. Let's go." Like he still has that boyish, childish like, let's play around, let's have fun," which
yeah.
is interesting because he takes being a martial artist and the warrior code very seriously, but at the same time, there's this like childish like playing part of him where he wants to play pranks on people and like trick them and stuff like that. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. I mean, unlike any other opponent that Goku has faced, Piccolo is the best at keeping up with his speed. So like at one point Goku vanishes, but Piccolo is able to track him down and he hits him right where he is. Goku does recover and he hits him back, but Piccolo is able to he doesn't have to multiply into four to be able to keep up to where Goku is at, which is
No,
again the most
exactly.
impressive opponent we've seen so far,
Yeah,
even more
exactly.
than his
This
father.
was the most high level fight we've seen. That's
Hmm.
undoubtable. And
So yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead and then I'll talk
Yeah,
about what I
no,
was going
and I
to say.
just wanted to say so the real twist comes in, I feel like, notable twist when Goku says he has a super Kamehameha, right?
Yeah.
And then Roshi stops him, which I thought was a bit weird, but Roshi seems to really like Kami
Hmm.
and not want anything bad to happen to him, even though Kami would have wanted Goku to finish Piccolo off. And then Roshi stops Goku from using the Super Kamehameha because he's like, "Yo, hold up, you'll kill Kami," which was a weird thing because I feel like Roshi should understand the significance of what's going on. Sam, thank you so much for the donation. He's shouting out supersized Piccolo, which we'll get to soon. And yeah, so that surprised me a bit that Roshi was the one who was like, "Yo, don't kill Kami," because yeah, the world could be destroyed, and that's what Kami wanted. But yeah, so we had that Roshi part, but eventually, after Krillin brings up the fact that hey, we could use the Dragon Balls to bring him back, so you can
Oh,
kill him.
Krillin bringing logic again.
Yeah,
That, that
Krillin
comes in
is
handy. So,
logical, and he picked. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was gonna like talk about his waifu, but I'm not gonna talk about that yet because we're not at Dragon Ball Z yet. So good save there from not spoiling you. But but you have that to look forward to. Um, and I do like what Piccolo says during that fight when Goku stops himself from using the Super Kamehameha. So this is what he says: "I can do whatever I please. That's the beauty of being evil." So he doesn't have to hold back, and that's so true. And it got me to reflect on all the bad guys in the series and how they were willing to use every like dirty trick in the book, endanger civilians, take hostages, not having to worry about anything. And yet Goku still beats them, which must feel amazing because against all odds, against them being willing to cheat all the time and him being super fair, he still wins. And that joy of winning that way must feel so much better than like winning by having to resort to like cowardly means like taking hostages or like endangering other people's lives. So I
mhm.
thought that was a really interesting comment that Piccolo brought up.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we get to that moment where he actually uses the Kamehameha wave, which Piccolo is like at one point. There's a lot of like glowing and electric shocks going around him as he builds up. We talked about a lot of build up with some of these fights. But yeah, they blast it at each other, and Goku's overpowers Piccolo's energy wave.
Exactly.
But what is crazy is like I'm thinking, oh man, what's this super Kamehameha gonna be like? Piccolo does survive it. He is kind of like stunned in the air. He has lost like we notice. It's funny. I see this common trend in Dragon Ball. I'm sure it's going to be like that for Dragon Ball Z, where like the clothes start ripping
Yeah,
as the
exactly.
fight continues. So you have
I mean, it
Piccolo.
is pretty
Is,
epic, right? Like,
yeah,
you have like clothes torn and it's like you're still being badass, you're still fighting. It's a cool look, you know what I mean?
yeah. So like Piccolo's shirt gets like half ripped, and it was interesting because part of me is like I saw his arms, and he has those weird kind of red. I don't want to call them veins, but what would you call like? I know his arm is green, and then he has those. It's a red outline and like a pink, like pink lines going through different parts of his arm. I don't
Like
know if you
just a
could picture Piccolo's arms.
yeah, I
They're,
can. I can,
yeah,
yeah.
so I'm like, I wonder if this dude, like, if his abs are the same thing, and sure enough, they are. It was a weird, curious thing. I had to like, I'm
Ah,
just curious about the
that is
build of this
so
guy.
weird. You're so weird, bro.
I was curious. I'm
What
like,
kind of
where the
man? What kind of man spends time thinking about what Piccolo has under his clothes, bro? Oh, no,
I
that's
was
interesting.
curious. I'm like, is
That's
this guy's
interesting.
abs going to be the same way? I don't know. It was weird. And sure enough, It was.
What an interesting thought. But yeah, good
I
job
have
guessing
weird
that.
things.
Good
Yeah.
job guessing
Anyway,
that.
yeah.
Um,
So that happens. Go
yeah, and
ahead.
afterwards is when we get supersized Piccolo, as Sam pointed out. So, what did you think of all that? Like, that was pretty crazy. Like, he got, and Goku was man again. Goku's a genius when it comes to fighting and strategy. So, in the manga, especially, I remember because it's fresh in my mind. I just read it today. Um, he gets bigger. He gets big. So I don't know why there's a bit of a echo there. Testing. Okay, it
Yeah.
should be good. All right. So he gets a bit bigger, and then Goku is like, "Oh, I bet you can't get bigger than that, because if you got bigger than that, then I'd be worried." And then he's like, "Oh yeah," and then he gets as big as a fucking mountain. And the manga did a great job of illustrating just how big he is, where like his foot's uh, like hanging off the left side of the ring kind of thing, and like it's just so well like illustrated. Like
Mhm.
Toriyama did a great job of that scene and showing how huge he is. And yeah, they say he's big as a mountain and stuff like that. But Goku did that not because he fears Piccolo as at that size, but because he wanted to enter his body and rescue Kami. So what did you think when he just like Kamehameha himself into Piccolo's body?
Yeah, that was awesome. And then he's inside, and he's punching like he's going down his
Exactly.
different whatever pipe is in, and he's punching, and you just see Piccolo choking and unable to contain him. No, that was soup. That was like a Krillin type move right there.
No, yeah, and yeah, he's getting like Goku is like I'm saying, he's he's very strategic, and like his naivety should not be mistaken for like stupidity, especially when it comes to fighting. Because yeah, like he's a genius. He comes up with like so many good ideas on the fly. Like he saved Kami doing that. That was amazing. And it was epic seeing him flip Piccolo using just Piccolo's finger.
Yeah,
And again, it was the same kind of TN idea where it's like, yeah, you could split into four, but they're all weaker, or you could grow large, but you're not any stronger. You just have more places where I can hit you, and it's more difficult for you to dodge. So, yeah, I like how all of these cheap tricks Goku just sees right through and like is able to overcome.
and how about that one moment when Piccolo tries to step on him and his foot's not going fully into the ground because Goku is able to just hold him off and eventually throw him by the bottom of his foot, like
Yeah,
to the other side of the ring. That was pretty
exactly.
epic.
And then Piccolo eventually is like, oh shit, all right, this guy completely outsmarted me. He took out Kami, and now I'm gonna return back to my normal size,
Yeah.
making the only use of becoming huge being that he lost Kami. Like, that was like the one
Yeah.
thing that happened. So, that was pretty hilarious how Goku turned that around on him. And yeah,
Yeah.
like, unlike the first battle with King Piccolo, in this situation, Goku pretty much always had the upper hand. Like, did you feel the same way? I felt like Goku pretty much always had the upper hand.
Yeah, like he always was one step ahead of Piccolo.
And not only that, because he wasn't, and we'll talk about that soon, but just he was stronger. So in a fair fight, he would have won from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he gets his ass kicked and then he has to come back for a rematch and then
Mhm.
he barely wins kind of thing as it was with like King Piccolo. It was more so like from the beginning he could win this fight, but the point was like, oh, how's Piccolo gonna cheat and like how's he Piccolo gonna catch him off guard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all interesting stuff. So Piccolo returns to normal size, and then what did you want to talk about next?
I just love how when he does return to normal size, Goku actually tells Piccolo at one point to relax. Like I love that because that's one thing that Piccolo can't control at times, like his anger. And we see Goku going through his training with Kami was obviously not like it was more spiritual and learning how to tame your mind and how Goku throughout this whole tournament he has a really calm mind which helps him in battle. So yeah, I found that was interesting. And at this point of the match, there are like no fans except their immediate friends because this is right before
Yeah,
Piccolo turns big.
People figure out it's
Like,
King Piccolo,
yeah,
right?
I'm
Yeah.
King Piccolo reincarnated, and like the world goes crazy. It's on the news. The king from last time ends up getting word of it, and people are like fleeing because they're so scared.
And mad respect to the commentator who we constantly talk about here, who sticks it out, right?
I know.
He
What a boss.
doesn't he doesn't like run away. He's like, bro, I got a job. Everyone would understand if I leave right now, but I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna stay and like continue to enunciate the fight, like, to observe the fight and to comment on it. Like, what a boss! Like, let's give that man his respect.
And with that mustache too, he just looks like a champ.
Exactly. Yeah. Ray was actually talking about that when we were chilling the other day when he was saying like he appreciates his mustache because it's November and like people are doing Movember and stuff like that. So Ray found inspiration from his mustache.
You know, great timing.
Um, there was some other things that like I noticed during the fight or the before we get to like the end of the fight. For one thing, Kami can't see them with a god's eye. That's how
Yeah.
fast they're moving, which was crazy. And Kami straight up admits like Goku has surpassed me. So Goku surpassed a god, which is crazy to think about, right?
Hmm.
That's how far we've come. Um, Master Roshi says my little dolt has become a genius as he watches him fight. Another way we could view like how far he's come. Like he's come from that like that little country bumpkin who's like doesn't really know what's going on in the world outside of nature and like getting food and stuff to becoming like a master martial artist and like saving the whole world and pretty much everyone in the world knowing who he is and stuff like that. So yeah, he's really come a long way.
Yeah, for sure. And as I mean, before we get into the end of the fight, which I think like nearing the end of this fight, it's the most epic ending in terms of unpredictableness and craziness like that. But yeah, there's a couple cool moments I noted within the fight. There's one point Goku gets hit, but then while he's getting hit, he uses the Kamehameha with his feet
Yes, I
to
wanted to mention
spring
that
up
too.
and hit
Exactly.
Goku and hit Piccolo with both hands.
That's when Roshi commented that he's a genius. Yeah,
Yeah,
cause it frees up his hands and like yeah, this dude's just like flexing now. He's just like showing off at this point. Like
yeah,
I didn't even know you could use a Kamehameha with your legs, bro.
yeah.
Like maybe like I forgot about it. Maybe it happens at some point in Z, but I didn't even know, man. I was surprised by that. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? He could probably use it from his hand. He could probably use it from his like yeah, like
You can get
he
creative
could
there.
use it from his mouth. Like he could probably use it from like any place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so use your imagination for
Kamehameha the
that
toilet.
one. Yeah, exactly. Um, and then what I really thought was one of the best moments was when Kami steps in and blocks a
Yeah.
punch of Piccolo's, and then Goku is like, "Bro, we're not gonna team up on him. Screw that. I want to win this one on one." And he lets Piccolo give him a free shot, right?
Yeah.
So Goku is like, "All right, Piccolo, we need to be even because like Kami blocked the shot, so I'm not gonna resist. Punch me as hard as you want." And like, what a move, man! What a move! Like that shit like gives me goosebumps, man. When someone's that cool, where they're like, "Yeah, man, you know what? We like, yeah, I could save the world and like I could do my best to like beat you by any means necessary, but I want to win this fair and square, bro." And like, he has so much integrity that he's just gonna let Piccolo give him like a free punch, and it's gonna hurt worse than like when Piccolo's trying to avoid him defending or something. He could just go all out. So I think
Mhm.
that was like really epic how Goku just stepped up and he's like, "Yeah, bro, give me a shot."
Yeah. No, that was I have mad respect to him how he and I think that's what happened in Tien's fight too, right? Remember when they find out that
Yeah,
Xiao is
yeah,
not
that
faking,
was
is
Tien that time, but
hitting
yeah,
Goku and
no,
Tien.
and I love that kind of stuff, like the integrity. Like,
Yes.
they called it in the manga a warrior's pride. I don't necessarily like the word pride just because it does have like negative connotations,
Hmm.
but integrity is how I do it. Like, living by your principles. That's how I'd
Yeah.
like frame it, and I respect the shit out of that. Like when you see that happening, And even if it puts them at a disadvantage, they're gonna live up to their moral compass and live up to their integrity. And that's why I love characters like Goku. I think that's one of the best things about him.
Hmm. There are also some other pretty epic moments as well. I think at one point, Piccolo powers up so much when he's trying to gain, like, I think it's he's able to take some energy from other people. And Goku does say he's never seen so much energy uh, being like gathered at one point by
Yeah, I
someone.
didn't even know if he was taking energy, maybe, but in the manga, I don't recall that, but maybe that is what happened. But yeah, the point is he was gathering so much energy or ki around him that Goku right away knew everyone needs to like get out or search for cover or something.
Yeah.
And I do just want to say though a Roshi quote that perfectly captures Goku and that you could keep in mind as we move forward in Dragon Ball Z. So he says Goku was never one to think about the global situation. The only thing that really gets him excited is fighting an opponent worthy of him.
Mm.
So I think that's a pretty important quote to just note down and think about as we move forward. But yeah, moving on to Piccolo's final gamble, as it was called in the um, manga.
Yeah. So right now I'm looking at, because I'm just looking at my notes here. So after we talked about how Kami steps in, blocks it, then he Goku allows Piccolo to take the shot. There is that interesting moment where Piccolo releases this energy wave that keeps tracking Goku, so
Yeah,
similar to
good point.
Yamcha's,
Good point.
but
Yeah.
then he chases it right into Piccolo and dodges it. It destroys Piccolo's arm, and he ends up being able to just simply like regrow that arm,
No,
which
yeah, that
I'm like,
was
man,
yeah.
this is
Those
crazy.
you just like quickly went through that, but like yeah, that was amazing. That was all of those stuff, like how it went from all right. So first, um, you got this deadly attack. Then Goku sends it back at him, right? And keep that in mind because that's a strategy that may pop up in the future as well, which is interesting. Um, you do tend to see Dragon Ball repeat itself in different ways, so like
Mm.
it'll be fun moving forward and thinking about this kind of stuff. But yeah, he hits him. Piccolo has to deal with the damage, and yeah, he loses his arm, and Goku's like, "You should give up. What are you gonna do?" And that was so badass when he just freaking ripped off his arm and then grew one back. Like, what
I
was your
know.
response to that?
At that point, I'm thinking, how is he going to be able to defeat him in terms of, unless he gets rid of him completely, because he'll just be able to recoup different parts of his body. And his arm came in without like any wounds on it, so it was like a fresh
No, yeah,
arm.
fresh, exactly. No, that's the main point. Yeah, that was crazy. And then we move on to that final attack where he like gathers so much energy and he's about to release that giant explosion.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
want to describe that moment, and then I'll
Yeah,
talk about.
so pretty much like something like I think it's pretty straightforward. Like people were freaking out, trying to figure out how to escape. A golden moment for me was when Launch was like pretty much kicking Kami's butt to get into the hole Tien created. And then she was
Mhm.
like calling him an old man and stuff, which I thought was pretty hilarious because he's like God, and she's like, "Come on, God, dude, come on, get in the fucking hole, come on, like
I know.
get a move on." Like so, Launch's attitude towards him, like that completely lacked all respect, was pretty
I know.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But yeah,
kind of my thoughts on it.
yeah, there's, I think, so the moment I'm thinking of is Goku basically there's one moment where Piccolo is powering up for almost like half of an episode, and he ends up sending this crazy energy wave at Goku, which he blocks by crossing his arms. And I think at that point Goku starts powering up. After that, he runs at him, takes multiple shots, jumps up, uses the Kamehameha wave on Piccolo, and that's that particular hit that sends Piccolo like to the ground. There's a big hole in the ground, and he looks like almost dead at that point. Like his face is stunned. I think his
Yeah,
eyes are wide open. His mouth is wide
yeah,
open.
he has that like no pupils, I think, kind of look,
Yeah,
where like you're like, oh shit, this guy's knocked out,
this
kind of
guy's
thing.
dead. Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. And then they start counting. But that moment right after threw me off so much when
Yes,
you're right
yes.
near 10 and he ends up being able to fire off that energy wave from his mouth and it goes right through Goku's body
Yeah, that
to his
was
skull.
fucking crazy. And I just want to mention, like, the explosion was like an atomic bomb.
Oh, I
Like
know,
when
yeah.
Piccolo did it, like it leveled the entire island. So, like, I do want to say that because, like, that was crazy. That was like
Yeah.
unprecedented, like, damage.
Mhm.
And then Goku obviously survived it without stepping out of the ring, even though like what's left of the ring is practically nothing, just like a bit of raised sand. But technically, he's still in the ring,
Yeah.
and yeah, then we get that Goku letting down his guard, which is why I didn't agree that he was one step ahead the whole time,
Yeah.
because in this situation, he completely didn't know what was gonna happen. He got cocky. He did a thumbs up to his friends when he was around like the 9 count, and then bam, Piccolo right through his body, through his chest. He got shot off, and it looked like a deadly wound. He had a huge gaping hole on his body. So yeah, I'm not surprised you thought that was crazy. I thought that was crazy in the anime and in the manga. It was so sudden. It was like everything looks happy go lucky. You're expecting it to continue, and then bam, Piccolo just creates a huge hole inside of him.
And it's interesting because in the previous arc, we have Goku defeating Piccolo by going through him, going through more of his like stomach, chest area, making that hole. And at this point, Junior ends up making that hole within Goku. So I had no idea how he was going to survive that. And then
Yeah,
basically
exactly.
Piccolo ends up getting out. Um, at one point, he's like stamping on Goku's wound on the hole,
Yeah, that
which
was
is like just
brutal.
crazy. He goes elbow first at one point, right into the wound, which
Yeah.
oh my
No,
god,
yeah,
that was
like
crazy.
yeah, that was crazy. I do want to shout out Hooky Wookie for gifting 5 subs. Thank you very much, Hooky Wookie. And yeah, that was absolutely crazy. Like that was one of the most brutal
Yes,
moments in Dragon Ball. And I really noticed like this adult Goku like not cries but like screams out a lot, right?
in pain. Yeah,
Yeah, like so he's like the toughest martial artist you'll meet, but he's still like, he'll cry out a lot, especially in the dub. I'm not super sure how it sounds uh in the sub or in the Japanese dub, but like in the English dub, yeah, he's regularly screaming out and he's not being stoic about it, let's just say. He's like letting us know how much pain he's in.
yeah, that was a piercing sound there. And you know what's interesting as well is there's one point where I mean Piccolo's hitting the hole, but he's also goes down, and someone I forget who says it. Someone says he breaks Goku's leg, which Goku ends up at one point like obviously getting back up. So it's crazy if he actually did.
Okay,
He's
so
able
this is
to.
yeah, this is what he does. So he breaks at one point, and maybe I'm jumping ahead a bit, but Piccolo breaks his both of his legs and his arms. So like, because he didn't want to leave an arm
Yes.
left like last time, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do the final shot," and and then right when we think it's gonna be over and it looks hopeless, which is funny. At that point, Kami is like, "All right, Tien, like, take me out, bro.
Yeah.
Like, clearly this doesn't look good." And I laughed my ass off when Goku is like, dead, can't move, everything is broken, and he's like, "Don't do it, guys. I'm gonna win this."
I know.
That was so good. Oh my god. It's like, bro, like you literally can't move and it's like I'm going to win this. And of course, what he ends up doing is he learned a flying technique that Tien and Krillin learned, right? And he ends up using that to avoid the finishing blast from Piccolo
Mhm.
and to knock him with his head out of the ring.
Yeah.
So
And
that
yeah,
was that was epic. He didn't need legs. He didn't need his arms. He just used his flying and just headbutted Piccolo again in order to defeat him.
Yeah, his head was still fine, so
Yeah,
he was able to use it.
and
A
I
lot.
like the way they did that because they're working off of what didn't work last time, right? So it's like, or what did work last time. So rather than repeating themselves, because I'm like, oh, are they really gonna like do the same thing where he like breaks parts of his body and then he doesn't break one last one? But no, I like the fact that Piccolo made sure to break them all this time, and
Yeah,
Goku still found a way to surprise him. And he was in the manga. In the manga, he was holding the flying. He was making a secret the whole time, so it was an ace up his sleeve. Well, I feel like in the anime, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like he was flying in the Tien fight.
oh, in the team, yeah, it did seem like it.
It seemed like that to me, but in the manga, yeah, like this is the time they figure out that he can actually fly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was interesting.
it was interesting too how similar to the other fight from the previous Piccolo fight, he comes in at like a similar, kind of like a similar angle and hits him like the last time his one arm was, um, there was something wrong with it, so he had to hit him just with the other arm. And at this
Yeah, yeah.
point, all his body parts weren't working, so the only thing he had left was the head. So even more of a challenging feat. But yeah, he ends up knocking him to the ground and knocking him out of the ring. And it's hilarious when mentioned this before, but Goku asked the ref, "Is he out of the ring?"
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
like that's what
exactly.
he's concerned about,
Exactly. He's
not the
like,
broken bones.
yo, he's like, yeah, he's like practically dead, and the only thing he can think of is like, is he out of the ring? No, that was so good. And then he counts out. He's like, oh no, he's like, yeah, officially he's out of the ring. And Goku finally wins the tournament. And bro, like that smile on his face, I'm pretty sure on Twitter I linked that moment where he realizes he won the world tournament, right? Everything so far that happened was leading up to this moment where as a martial artist, he's proven to be the best in the world, and as at the same time he saved the world. And yeah, that smile, that giddiness he feels despite all the pain of how, like, you could see how worth it was for him. And like, just think of any time you really exert yourself, like Ray, you ran a marathon not too long ago, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no matter how much like it was difficult or hurt at the time, how good is that feeling like after you complete it, and like you push your body to close to its limit, and then you look back and you're like, bro, I accomplished it, I did it.
I know. At the moment, I felt like no pain. Like it was like for that moment, it felt like I could celebrate. And then about like a minute in, all of a sudden, I just went to sit down, and everything just my body just collapsed. But yeah, I felt probably Goku felt like that, but times a million in terms of being able to. This was like a marathon of a fight, so
Yeah,
being able
no,
to
exactly.
survive
and
it
and he
and
gave it his
do it in
all, and I mean that's the most satisfying fight, right? Like,
yeah,
if Goku just like mopped the floor out of Piccolo, that wouldn't be satisfying. But the way they set it up, where like, Piccolo got cheap shots in, and like Goku was almost like dead, and he was clearly reached his limit, but it was just enough to like surpass Piccolo. That was so satisfying. And I think that's what makes Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z so good, the way they set up the fights, like the stakes and the eventual like appreciation after they're over. Like, we could totally feel the same way that he did after that fight, right?
yeah,
Like, we felt his joy. It was amazing.
yeah. No, that was awesome.
Then he gets a sensu bean, and that's when he just starts flying around all over the place, super excited and screaming to the heavens, like, "Yeah, I'm the champion! I won! I won!" And I
Hmm.
really want to know what you think of the fact that not only did Goku save Piccolo, which from Kami, which is like one thing, which we could expect him to do, because he doesn't want Kami to die, and he likes fighting strong opponents. Not only did he save him, he gave him a fucking sensu bean. So what did you think about that?
That was crazy. And something else, even before that, just prior to that, that threw me off was Kami tries to destroy Piccolo behind
Exactly.
Goku's back when he's celebrating. And then he stops him and he tells him, if you destroy Piccolo, that'll destroy you. And at the same time, it'll like destroy or it'll not allow the Dragon Balls to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that, but like that's something that Kami didn't even like put two and two together or something.
Yeah, Goku. No, I think Kami did. My understanding was that Kami was lying, right? And Kami wanted to trick people so that they'd let him die.
Yeah.
But Goku of every out of everybody, Goku was the one who was like figured out he was lying and that it would make sense that the Dragon Balls would stop to exist if um Kami died because Kami created them. So again, a moment where Goku sort of is the smart one in the situation, and he can tell that Kami is lying.
Yeah, which makes things more complicated because it shows that Piccolo will have to survive if they want the Dragon Balls to survive as well. So,
Yeah, and I think they're even more concerned about Kami than the Dragon Balls.
yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, him giving him the sensu beans, that really threw me off. And I guess it's an interesting reason why in terms of like that way he'll always have an enemy out there
Yeah, he
to,
doesn't want to lose his arch enemy, he said in the manga.
yeah. So I'm curious to see how that kind of enemy rivalry continues within Dragon Ball Z, but I don't know. I mean, that's why Goku's just so unique. He always wants a challenge. He always wants obstacles out there. He doesn't want life to go smoothly. So that was a really interesting reason why he decided to keep Piccolo around. And again, like heal him as well. It's one thing, like why not just leave him there?
Yeah,
Why give him
exactly.
the sense?
Or seal him away when he can't defend himself. Right?
Yeah,
Like they could evil containment wave him. He can't reflect it back because he's too
yeah, that's
weak.
true. I didn't even think
Um,
of that.
yeah, but the thing is, Goku will prioritize having a strong opponent in the future that he can like continue to get stronger for, rather than the safety of the Earth,
Hmm.
which which is interesting because yeah, Goku is pure-hearted in the sense that he doesn't like have
Yeah,
corrupt
almost at
thoughts.
times too pure-hearted.
He doesn't have corrupt thoughts, but at the same time, he's not a stereotypical like pure-hearted person in the sense that he's not putting, let's say, the what's best for the world ahead of what he wants. He
Yeah.
wants a strong opponent, so he's gonna possibly jeopardize the world for it. So yeah, keep that in mind as well. Like clearly this isn't a guy who's always gonna do what you'd expect to be the right thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something we
Well,
love about him too. Yeah, keep
something I
going.
love as well related to Goku is near the end of the episode, obviously, Chi-Chi embraces him and he is embarrassed. And it's funny because he still doesn't know how to behave around her, though he ends up
Yeah, because
learning a bit
he
more
has
in the
no
last
idea about any of
story.
this, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like hugging him, and he's like Krillin never hugged me. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Krillin didn't latch on to me like this, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's like, why does she want to like hang on me and stuff like that? And he's like, not in public, like he also said. So yeah, that stuff is so cute. Like they're getting
Yeah.
married, and he's like, oh no, Chi Chi, don't do this in front of people.
What I
I
love
love
though
it.
is
I
when
love it.
Kami offers Goku the job, like to be the guardian. And Goku says, like, no, obviously. And the Nimbus comes and he says, because, and he grabs Chi Chi and he says, like, because nothing's better than this, just to be able to have your freedom and spend it with someone that you enjoy. Like, that was an awesome moment
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah, and again in the anime they like emphasized the romantic part a bit more. But yeah, I think the general idea is yeah, he's not always looking for more in the
Yeah.
sense of like he's content with what he has and with being an earthling who's like fighting and training and becoming stronger. And in the manga it also says that he was really bored up at the lookout. Like he's like that place is okay for like a little while, but there's no way I'd spend like my life there, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah, he did not like the idea of becoming a god, but it's crazy that we got to the point where we did, where Goku was like a little kid, fighting, dinosaurs so he could eat them. And now we came to the point where Goku literally got offered the position of god and he turned it down. So that's how far we've come. Crazy to think about.
Yeah. I know it's been such a long journey, but it was
And
cool to
and
see it wrap up
for
like
how
this.
many people? Oh, another interesting thing was in the manga, he didn't have to choose between like Chi-Chi and becoming a god. He was like, "Oh, you guys should come up there and you could be a god and you could be a goddess." Right?
Mm.
So he offered the option of both of them going together. But yeah, it's interesting how that could corrupt so many people. The idea of, oh, you can become a god, right? Or
Yeah.
like so many people would be like, oh, that's a huge boost to my ego. I'm like the god of the world. But Goku was just like, nah, I'm good. I'm having fun. Doesn't get better than this. And then he just rides off with Chi Chi, his new wife. And yeah, I thought that was such a beautiful ending to
Hmm.
like what is known as Dragon Ball for us in the West. Like such a great finish to an otherwise interesting story. But yeah, it was the perfect bow tie or gift wrap on top of the present.
Yeah. So in the manga, does it end with that, or does it cut to just like quickly them being married?
A manga you don't get the marriage. Not in the
Okay.
manga for Dragon Ball. What you get is them riding off, and then Master Roshi saying in like a little corner, and we're not over by a long shot. Look forward to Dragon Ball Z, where like the story
Mm.
continues, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which might have been added after the fact because they knew there would be a continuation. But yeah, so we did have that.
Yeah. Now we can play filler or no filler.
It's
We
yeah,
know what
we
it is.
know. Yeah, that would be a bad game to play right now.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
And imagine we went through it and you're just like filler. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, filler.
Uh,
Yeah, so the rest is all filler. And I pointed out how almost hilarious it was how long the Ox King was in that burning building, like in
yeah.
the burning castle. Cause like, bro, like these guys were off on different adventures, traveling across the world, had their own mini like first arc where Goku like looked for the Dragon Balls. Like they had all these adventures. Um and the whole time, like, you cut back to the Ox King and he's like, still waiting here, guys.
And why didn't I just don't understand? Because Goku, before he ends up going off to find the fan, he does go there to try to get the Oxkin when he's with the dress, and he doesn't want to come. Is it just his pride, like he doesn't want to leave his castle?
I don't recall perfectly, but I'm guessing that like it was like the dress, like or leave or save the dress, and like he wanted to save the dress. I feel like that's what I remember, but I don't recall it perfectly.
Yeah, because I thought he had the dress at one point. I know he's looking for it.
Yeah,
Anyways, it's just weird how he's just trapped, this giant, huge man, Oxkin, trapped in a castle.
with a
Like
wedding
it's
dress,
usually,
like holding the
it's,
wedding
u-
dress.
it's usually like the princess in the stories trapped in the
Yeah,
castle.
exactly. With no context, that's pretty hilarious, eh?
Yeah,
Just like the a big guy with like holding a wedding dress in like a burning building. It's like, save me, Goku, save me.
I know the father too. Yeah.
Yeah, that is hilarious. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Like we obviously have a bunch of like random side stories. Anything that like you want to highlight?
Um, I mean, I think again, I wasn't necessarily 100% like engaged and loving it after such an epic previous story, but I think there were a couple like funny moments when he goes to Roshi's island and he's looking for the fan, and then later on, like Roshi's like, "I just made that up to impress a girl." That whole book, that was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
no, that was great. I love that. It's
But
isn't that all? Don't we like guys do everything just to impress girls?
I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
that's
that was
just writing
that
an
was.
entire book about it. That's hilarious.
But yeah, it was cool, I guess, over the whole sub story, just to see the relationship between Goku and Chi Chi growing, and how there were times where he saved her, she's falling on that particular like that tight route there when they go into, and what's it called? It's not Demon Land. What do they call it? The Dark World?
Yeah, I don't think it matters what we call it,
Yeah,
but
whatever it's
yeah, at
called.
the end of the day, it leads to a bridge between the afterlife and their life.
Yeah. So I found that was interesting, getting a bit of the backstory and with the fog as well, in terms of the fog having to be there for people to be able to pass over. But I mean, nothing necessarily crazy. I thought it was interesting though how though at the end when Goku's talking to, I think her name's Anine, the woman who is the kind of like the caretaker of the furnace,
Yeah, yeah.
how he pretty much loses his temper. Like the most I've ever seen him lose it in since him being like an adult, and
Yeah, because he
he
wants
ends
to
up,
save like
yeah,
he really likes the Ox King, and he's like, "Why don't you guys understand? Like, we need to do
yeah,
whatever we can to save him." And they're
yeah,
like, "Oh no, there are risks involved and stuff like that." So,
yeah.
and at the end of the day, it paid off because they found a way, right?
And something crazy, which I've never seen before, is when Anine ends up offering Goku, like she's eating noodles or something. Do you want food? And he's like, I'm not hungry. And he throws it. I'm like, man, you know he means business when he's denying food.
That's good. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, it's a great example. Yeah, like when you throw away, like when Goku hits aside food, you always know it's like high stakes, big deal.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was. I think the my favorite part of all that. I did like kind of how it was all an illusion, and like at the beginning, when they're getting to that place with the furnace,
Yeah.
and how people died because they got freaked out by the illusions, and then they like jumped on the spikes or whatever. But if you just ignore the illusions and you don't get
Yeah.
scared, like you'll be fine. So I really like that, the mental battle that went on there. And beyond that, I really like the dynamic between Goku and Chi-Chi. I think that was my favorite part. Like obviously it ends with their marriage, but throughout they got to like, you know, be lovey-dovey with each other and stuff like that, and it was pretty heartwarming, not gonna lie.
Yeah. We do get Pilaf coming in, which I really hope this is the end of Pilaf. I can't. I hope he doesn't go into Dragon
we
Ball Z.
gotta we gotta
I think
call
he's in a
this
movie.
we
I
gotta
saw
call
like,
this podcast episode. I hope this is the end of Pila.
oh, can't stand that guy.
Oh man, yeah. It's again, it's comedic relief. Like
Yeah.
that's what he is. Like there are more serious bad guys, and he's just a guy to throw in there. What did you think about the sexist mountain that just like every time a girl approached it, it's like bad weather?
That is that was hilarious. And when like he told her to get off, that was awesome. And he threw her off. No, that was I had that down. I actually wrote down the Sextus Mountain.
Did you? That's
Yes,
hilarious. We did not talk about that
yeah.
beforehand.
No, that was funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
There were a couple like things that were I don't know, I guess 21st century culture wouldn't approve of. I guess the Sextus Mountain, the one old lady teaching Chi Chi like to be a good house.
Oh, yeah, good
I don't
point.
know how
Yeah,
people would react
yeah,
to
that's
that.
hilarious. Yeah, it's like, okay, so Goku's gonna go, the mountain obviously doesn't let women climb it because, women need to learn how to be a good housewives.
Yeah,
So pretty much while Goku goes and does like the exciting adventure, yeah, Chi-Chi is like needs to learn how to be a good wife. So
yeah,
that was pretty hilarious.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that wouldn't fly in like a Disney cartoon today.
no, maybe an old one, but not today.
Yeah,
No.
she'd have to like punch. She'd have to like beat up Goku or something.
I did find how it was funny, just how long, just how far we've come, because obviously Pilaf was the first like major villain in Dragon Ball, and how they take Chi Chi, just like they hold her hostage, and like she's almost laughing, like I can't believe
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
are
Chi-Chi
serious.
could kick their ass. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just trying to figure out like
Well,
they
that
don't even
was good,
recognize
right? Yeah.
Goku.
So we had that moment where like she learns to be a wife, um, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then she does also kick butt. So it's not like oh women can't kick ass. So like
Yeah,
she's the best of both worlds, right? She's like
yeah.
an awesome wife, and she also can kick ass, which I do enjoy about her. We got Akka mentioning the Oolong Schoolmates. That was
Oh yeah,
that was interesting when they were all waiting for like Chi Chi to take off her clothes, and then like pretty much it's like the whole village gets there and just knocks down the like building.
yeah. And he's
You
like, "Are
got
you
perverts
Oolong?
everywhere in Dragon Ball, like
Are you
Master
Oolong?"
Roshi and like everybody. Yeah.
They're like, "Are you Oolong? Oh, that bum?" Like, no. And it sounds exactly like him.
And talks like him and everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that was good. Um, and yeah, we end with that perfect like wedding with the wedding dress and like Goku wearing a white suit and like that picture perfect moment,
yeah.
um, where he becomes a married man and like, yeah, it's interesting. Like there's all those Shakespeare comedy plays that end with weddings,
Hmm.
and yeah, the anime decided to do the same. They ended on that like wedding note, and
Yeah.
then we get the continuation. And I really like the fact that we do get a continuation because like you often get that to be the ending in like fiction. Um Not necessarily in shonen, but like in general, like okay, you get married and that's the end of the story. But Goku, like, he's married, but like he's unlike any married guy and he still keeps going on adventures and stuff, obviously, because there's a continuation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not the end. Marriage isn't the end. It's just like a side thing, and Goku keeps having crazy adventures. And I like that because it's like, bro, life is not over after marriage. Like it keeps
Hmm.
going.
Yeah. Oh, it was a good way to end the arc, the marriage. Though again, some of the filler was a little too much, but I did like how he ended in a wedding. So
Exactly. And I get that too. I also felt at times I'm like, bro, I knew it was filler. I'm like, there's no way this is like original stuff, and like it
yeah.
lagged on sometimes. But yeah, exactly. We gotta take it for what it is. We're not judging Dragon Ball itself by the filler stuff, and we're just like viewing the comedy in it or like the interesting aspects of it, cause it can be fun for us to talk about stuff that's not great as much as it is for us to praise the great stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we can't enjoy a conversation where we're like, bro, like he just keeps waiting and Goku just doesn't save him for like 4 episodes
Yeah.
in a burning building. Like I enjoy talking about that stuff too. But
Yeah.
cool. Any final thoughts? And yeah, we do have to rank this. So where would you rank this final arc, Ray?
I would put it number one
Number one?
from start to finish. From the last episode to now, I don't know. I think it had everything. It had the tournament, high risk, higher than any other tournament in terms of the risk factor of we have the guy who says he's going to take over the world. Like the previous one was Tien just possibly killing just Goku. The one before that, it was a purely innocent tournament. So the risks were higher. So I enjoyed that. The fights were better. I mean, that Tien Goku fight was 3 episodes long. So I mean, like there were some epic fights within
There
them.
were. There were, yeah.
So
And
I did like that.
yeah, and I agree with you. I think because it wrapped everything up so well, because we had, Goku saving the world as well as finally winning the martial arts tournament, I think like that would cinch it for me if everything was the same, but Goku finally winning and seeing that smile on his face and like
Yeah,
how far he's come, like that made it no competition for me. Like this had to be number one. But there are other great stuff too. Like obviously, like I mentioned, he had to save the world at the same time, and he got married, and like, yeah, it was just a great wrapping up of the entire story so far. A perfect little bow attached, and yeah, I can't wait for Dragon Ball Z. Reminder to you guys that we are watching the Dragon Ball movies for the next episode, talking about them next week. So the order is Curse of the Blood Rubies, Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle, Mystical Adventure, and then fourth, The Path to Power. So we're going to talk about those Dragon Ball movies before we get to Dragon Ball Z in the following week.
hmm
But yeah, I'm excited. I think it's amazing that we've officially been doing this over 2 months because the first one was September 9th, right? And now we're on November 11th. So we've been doing it for over 2 months. We're in the double digits. We've covered 10 episodes of the podcast, the entire Dragon Ball series, not counting Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, man, I'm super proud of like how far we've come.
yeah. I'm proud as well, and I'm proud of how people are listening. People are enjoying it, and thanks for everyone for listening and following along. It's really motivated us to continue.
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly,
we
guys.
appreciate the comments. If you wanted to comment on iTunes and leave a rating, that'd be awesome as well as
Yeah,
listening. But we appreciate all the support.
we do on Twitch, on the podcasts, and I'll be posting probably this one and some standout episodes on Anime Uproar 2. I just renamed a channel I and Ray had to Anime Uproar 2, and you can find it on Anime Uproar on the suggested channels. And I'll be posting more anime stuff on there as well in addition to the main channel. So yeah, if you guys prefer to listen to it on YouTube, as I know Steelers does, one of our fans, then check it out over there. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Bang.